All right, everybody, as requested, here it is. My reaction to the end of season press conference. We haven't ever, I don't think to my knowledge, done a reaction video on the channel, and I thought, I think this is the perfect video to do one for. Maybe we do more of these on the channel. Who knows? This is completely going to be an unedited video where I'm going to be reacting to the Seattle Sounders end of season press conference. There's usually some juicy stuff that is asked, spoken about in these videos. So I thought, let's do a reaction with my thoughts on it. I did put a poll up on Instagram and YouTube, which mainly that poll on YouTube being the main determining factor, whether I do this live the night that I'm recording this or I post this as a video for you all. I haven't seen anything on this. I don't know much about what happened in the end of season press conference. I do have a cheat sheet from the boys on the page of what I should be highlighting. What are the main timestamps to be focusing on? Because this is like a 45-minute video, and I do want to try to keep it within 30 minutes. So, yeah, they said to start off first opening 4 minutes. I have it on 1.5 speed because I don't want to be hearing them in normal speed. And boys and girls, don't forget, we are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. We are so close to it, and we're probably going to do a giveaway for this milestone. So make sure to subscribe, to like the video, drop your comments. Again, this is supposed to be just a fun video, so don't take it super seriously if my reaction is not what you guys are expecting. Oh, am I being too harsh? Oh, I'm being this way. Oh, I'm being that way. It's all for fun. It's to put some laughs, and don't mind my YouTube feed right here on the right with the stuff I watched. Actually, a lot of the YouTubers, actually, I'm subscribed to all of them except for this one. So yeah, don't mind my subscription feed and the stuff I watch on my channel. But yeah, I think let's get started. My cheat sheet's telling me opening 4 minutes, just reflection starting of the season. So I think this is good. And I'll pause it every time I talk, so I'm not talking over our glorious Kings, Schmetzer and Weibel. You know, look how shiny their bald heads are, just beaming on me, and their brightness is blinding me. So let's get started with this.
So just reflecting back on the year, you know, it was for me personally, a very exciting year. Being able to, you know, play in the Club World Cup, you know, that was a massive opportunity for this club. Don't know if I'll be around if we ever get there again, Craig, but it was such a big deal, precursor to the 2026 World Cup, showing that Seattle can host these types of events. Our fans have always shown up for big games. But 2026, was it a success? That was the first thing I asked myself upon reflection after the loss.
Does he mean 2025? Because 2026 is coming up, but I think he meant 2025. I digress.
Minnesota. And I still come away with similar thoughts about that game, the performance, the year. There was a lot of success there in the year. We played a lot of games, you know, starting with the CCC way back when. You know, I thought everything was a success up until that final moment, because this club always tries to get deeper into the playoffs. And I watched some of the games over the last couple of days, some interesting games for sure, good TV, good watching, but it felt a little odd to be sitting on the couch.
That one I completely agree with.
Does 2026 look like? Craig and I have already started to have a lot of conversations about making the team better, how we're going to do that going forward. I'm excited for preseason. I thought last year, again, you know, the staff did a tremendous job. Coaching staff did a great job. I really love the progression that players made. You know, and it's not just the guys that we always talk about, like Obed or Jackson or whatever, but it's the development portion of our club. You know, Georgie made good strides this year. Snyder, we got Seba, we've got guys coming up. You know, it's really good and exciting to watch these young kids develop into grown men. And then the work environment this year was really tremendous. I have to credit Craig a lot for that. Even on tough games, he's always standing up in the tunnel, making sure he shakes our hand on the way out. Some of the stuff that we do in this building has a lot to do about the culture that both Craig and I think is very important for this club. Because what you hear from me all the time, you know, it's there. I'm out in the press a little bit more than he is, but he and I share a lot of the same values: hard work, commitment, never giving up.
Wait, let me add. He has 3 fingers, 4 fingers. Not making any signings in the summer window. I'll add that one in there for you, Brian. No problem.
Smart, being intelligent at your job, you know, common sense, and Pacific Northwest grit. Was wearing his Washington Husky jersey earlier because both the men's and the women's soccer teams have done very well following that, because Maggie Dutra, I'm going to little shout out to her, She's part of the women's team, and that's been a really good story in the media for a lot of different reasons. A real heartwarming story about their success and some of the challenges that they've had to overcome. So happy and distracted because Jeremiah just walked in, but very happy to sit up here and talk about 2025 and the highs and even some of the lows. But really what I want you guys to talk about is the future, because I see a bright future, and I'm happy to continue working with Greg.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what did we expect Brian to say? Like, no real surprises here, personally. Yeah. Well, again, this is not the juicy stuff, so I don't want to waste our times. I mean, I'm assuming you all are watching along too and listening to this, so yeah, nothing too crazy there. Just a lot of waffle and just what you expect him to say, and just da.
Yeah, I'll simply echo, hands down the most enjoyable year of my career as a general manager, just because of the progression.
Man. Good old Craig, man. Sorry. I thought it was funny. It's very ironic. Most enjoyable year for him. I bet it was fucking enjoyable, man. I bet it was extremely enjoyable because you didn't have to do anything for the main bulk of your job, but we digress and we'll give him a chance. Let's hear the man out.
Progression of so many people, not just the players, but the staff. And, a lot of people positioned to find better opportunities, bigger opportunities elsewhere because of the things we were able to accomplish this year as a group. And, for me, that's an important thing. It goes back to all the qualities Brian listed about who we are and what we are as a culture. And part of that is trying to make sure everyone gets to the highest capability that they have as an individual. So, obviously successful year on the field, incredible amount of games played, but incredible amount of success had as well. There's a lot of teams that play a lot of games that don't win nearly as much as we did. And the fireworks in the middle of the year made it a lot of fun. Fell a little short at the end of the year in terms of the fireworks we wanted to create, but I guess that's where the two UW programs will have to keep us busy over the next couple weekends.
All right, with that, we'll turn it over to you all for your questions.
Okay, cool.
If you have one, go ahead. Show hands.
It looks like we're going to get a question about the roster.
Get started. Jackson, I saw you first.
I think for both of you guys, Craig, Brian, the roster as it sits right now, as we look ahead to 2026, how far off is the roster as it sits right now from where you'd like it to be, say, 3 months from now?
I like that question. Okay, good question there. That's a really good question.
Well, I like the roster as it sits now. I mean, look, we've lost some pieces.
Okay, well, just wait. Okay, wait.
That's natural. But the thing that I like about this, and maybe I'm talking about myself, is stability. Because I don't get too high, too low. There's teams around the league that do it differently. They change 10, 12 players out every year. That's not the way we do things. I think the influential players that we brought this year, Jesus, Paul, when Paul went down, Ryan Kent, and again, backfilling with the guys that we produce, the roster is good for us this year. And we hope it's going to be a good roster for us next year as well.
I mean, yeah, look, it's just like a high school. You have a graduating class every year, right? So there's always a new set of players that are going to come in. Doesn't matter how we do it. Go over it every year.
Is there a new set of players that come in, Craig? Oh, dude. I don't know why. It's just like, we all know the roster is like, it's solid, but we know it's not like good, like where it needs to be. So I just think it's quite, I think it's quite funny that they're both saying this. Like, oh, new players need to come in. Okay, well, we're not bringing in new players, but again, I digress.
You never have the same team year to year ever. So
I can hate pausing it back to back. We've had pretty much had the same team for the last 3 years. Our team is very similar from the 2022 CCL championship team. It's not super. Remove Diaz and remove Ladero, and it's. I mean, I could pull it up, but I'm not. I don't want to keep switching tabs. But yeah.
We'll look to add some. We're still letting some of the water still has to settle in terms of a few decisions being made. But coming into next year, I think we have a really good team. And kind of goes back to what Brian and I always talk about when we really get to the nuts and bolts about adding a player. It usually comes down to, is this player going to touch the field for us? And if they're not, why are we adding a player? So it's a fun challenge to have. There's a lot of teams that aren't in the position we're in terms of players coming back. So good position, but obviously teams are never good enough in sports, are they? Right? Even when you win, you talk about getting better. So.
All right, we'll go to Tim next. Craig, can you sort of characterize where things stand with Stefan and Paul specifically right now? And do you anticipate having either one of them back on this roster next year?
Okay, another good question. See, we're getting the heavy hitters out the way, Paul and Steph. I think those are the only two guys from like the free agency group that there is a conversation to be had?
They're both free agents. So this is a new thing, relatively new in MLS. It's free agency, right? So they're both free agents. So the second half of that question that's mutual. And neither I nor they can answer that single-handedly, right? But there's healthy conversations between, and there's been plenty of conversations. I meet with players all the time. I've spent hours with both those guys. Brian spends every day with those guys. So we've had a lot of good conversation, but obviously there's no resolution to speak to yet.
And what that tells me is for Steph, because his should be very cut and dry, in my opinion. You're the number 2 now. Andrew Thomas is the guy. And I feel like because there hasn't been a resolution with Steph, there has to be some sort of pushback where it's like Steph still wants to be the number 1. And I don't blame Steph for that being the case. But at some point, the Sounders got to be like, you know what? If we need to just start thinking about our future in a sense. Like, okay, we're not going to keep going back and forth about it. We've made up our mind. If you want to go, go. With Paul's, it's just his salary is just crazy. Apparently he's asking for some odds 600, 700K plus. That's crazy. Somewhere around that 600 to 800K range. I talked on my video that I did about the news about Paul Rothrock most likely going into free agency. I would give no more than 400K. So I don't know. Again, I'm cool with both of those guys walking. I wouldn't keep going back and forth about it. Obviously, we let Jacob Castro's option. We didn't take his. It's not a big deal. I talked about in the last video too. Just let Mo Sure take that spot. Let him be the number 2. Just keep promoting goalkeepers up. I don't see that being a problem.
All right, we'll go back to Mars and then over to Nico Moreno. Yeah, Nico Moreno.
Craig, when you, and Brian as well, when you all look at the roster where you're right now, and you're not in the MLS championship, in your evaluation, what's missing? And not specifically in terms of a name, but what do you think is missing?
Ooh, I like that. What is missing, Brian and Craig? Because I know for a fact a lot of us fans can answer this. Let's hear what these guys have to say. Because they keep talking about roster is good. It was a successful year. But yet we're the ones having our end of season press conference while there are 4 teams still fighting for an MLS Cup. That they all do relatively deserve to be there. So
It's a tricky question. And
what? That's a tricky question? Oh man. Craig Weibel, bro. This guy just makes me angry. Makes me a little upset sometimes. But yeah, let's go. Tricky question. Let's see if you have a tricky answer to it.
And one of the reasons it's tricky is because we've got a great big trophy that we won in the middle of the year with this group. And so this group that we have this year, which obviously, as I mentioned, won't be the exact same.
Okay. And I'll repeat this. And I think this will be the last time I'm going to repeat this. We did win the Leagues Cup trophy, but that wasn't the main objective going into the season. I personally, for me, I don't know about you guys. You guys can talk about this in the comments. Leagues Cup does not outweigh MLS Cup. The whole talk from you, the man on the screen, was we have an MLS Cup winning team, not a Leagues Cup winning team. I'm not taking away from Leagues Cup. That was great. But then on the contrary, the guys that you were paying the big bucks for, the Rusnaks, the Morrises, didn't contribute to that success that you guys had. So then what does that say about you guys and how you're structuring our roster to have more success? That's all I'm going to lay out there, Craig. That's my question to you.
Same next year, but this group is capable of winning any game. And I think over the course of the 3 games versus Minnesota, I think arguably we deserved a few more goals. We probably could have made a few less mistakes and been playing yesterday. Who knows what happens in that case? We're asking a different question. So in terms of a specific piece, I'm not sure there's.
See, I don't like the whole, oh, well, we probably deserve to beat. We didn't deserve to beat Minnesota because they advanced and we didn't. There was nothing about we didn't deserve it. I hate that type of mindset personally. We didn't deserve to advance. Minnesota played haram ball, which is one of the Sounders' biggest weaknesses, is beating a low block. We have known this for years. Everybody watching this knows this. We didn't address or fix that problem. And on the flip side, we beat Houston last time in this first round series on penalties. We advanced from 2 penalty shootouts. This time around, We lost in 2 penalty shootouts. So that's the side of the risk that you take with this type of roster build that you keep talking about that's really good. That's the risk you take. I don't think there's anything unlucky about it. We didn't deserve to win. We could have won, but we didn't take our chances. But we'll let him keep speaking.
Sure, there's one that would unlock it, because the truth is, this is the exact group of players that won a big trophy. So I think we have a lot of quality. And like I said, the challenge.
God damn it, Craig! Oh no! To keep using Leagues Cup as the argument. But then you see how we won Leagues Cup. There's context to everything, man. And then to just keep saying, oh, but this group did win a big trophy. Yes, they did. But minus Stephen Fry, minus Albert Rusnak, minus Jordan Morris, we won that big trophy. So obviously this roster, and then when they did come back into the fold, you saw there was a lot more like instability, you could say. The team wasn't as sure as it was during Leagues Cup. It wasn't as efficient as it was during Leagues Cup.
The challenge is always going to be not when we're talking about a depth piece center back or a depth piece midfielder or something like that, but adding players that truly impact this group. Danny Mazowski coming off a career year that is frankly, puts him in numerically elite numbers that Jordan Morris visited the year before in terms of scoring as a striker. Osaze de Rosario's contributions up top. I think we had 20. Trying to think between those three, I'm not sure how many goals, but you're looking that position produced well over 20 goals this year for us. So.
See, I want to say yes. You're right, Craig. Between Osaze and Musovski getting 20, that's great for your backup strikers, not the main guys. Getting 20 some goals is great, but when you throw in, which in this case he roped in Jordan Morris, he's like, oh well, all three of them got like about 20 some goals. Most deep, like high end teams, attackers alone, the one singular dude. The Dankies, the Bwangas, the Suarez's, I don't know, who else are other players, the Brian Whites, they are hitting that alone by themselves. So you can glaze Dayro and Musovski, because I do agree with you, but to loop in Jordan and be like, oh, it was great that all 20-some goals from 3 strikers is spectacular. But the context is one of them is the DP that only got like, what, 5? It was the 2 backups that really you need to praise for the goal tallies that they got together. But again, that's just context.
When we look by position and break it down by person, that's when we start to look at how it complements each other. Brian's a coach. He'll tell you exactly what he needs if he wants to. But in terms of one player, one name, one position, I'm not sure that it's as easily identifiable in our group as it is in many others.
Oh, well, come here. You guys all see this mic, okay? It is identifiable. And let me tell you what it is, Craig. You want me to do your job? I already came back from my job. We need a striker. We need a cam that was like Ladero. And maybe Heckett. Maybe a good outside back and maybe a really good center back to pair up with Yamar. A little more on the consistenter side. There you go. You're welcome. That was free. But most definitely that striker. We need that one. There is positions that are identifiable. Ah, man.
And I would answer that, Maz, like this. So if you look at the team and the performance against Minnesota and just overall in general, we scored a bunch more goals than we did last year. Remember, that was the emphasis coming in. Okay. Maybe the couple of goals that we gave up against Minnesota in that second game weren't great, from the long throw in and the corner kick. And, we've already talked about it as a staff, talking about defending set pieces, making sure we control and do some of what we control, we get better at. Okay. But we were close. And, you look at the games, how they played out, the LAFC and some of the other things, you have to play the games. Our roster was good. We had the flexibility to bring Jordan out here and bring Musovski on at the end. And that was working for us. We were pretty dangerous.
Was it though? Was it though? And to say like we addressed the problem of scoring more goals, yes, we did score more goals compared to last year, but we conceded a whole lot more goals compared to last year. So everything just flipped. So I don't know if that's a valid point to make. Oh, well, we scored a lot more goals. Yeah, but we conceded a whole lot more goals. So all yeah, just continue, Brian.
Be dangerous. I mean, we get that third goal, and for sure we're going down to San Diego to play. So
Wait, what? Dude, we're still talking about this like we did like oh man, dude. I don't like that. I don't like the if we did this, this was working. Then why the heck did we not play San Diego? Because we weren't the better team. Stop. Stop, stop, stop. It's like that Michael Jordan meme. Stop it. Like, stop. Ugh.
overall, some of these questions are going to be answered in preseason based on recovery of certain players. Okay, because you got to look at Pedro, you got to look at Paul, you got to look at some of the guys that are going to be back because of a contractual thing, and then he and I are going to sit down and talk about stuff and figure out which direction we want to go with the team.
All right, we're going to go next.
Craig, where are the negotiations with Obed Vargas at this time in terms of an extension? And is there any real concern that Obed would either by ways of a pre-contract or just playing out his contract here, would he be able to walk out as a potential free transfer? And how?
Okay, so before we hear what they have to say about this, I've talked about, I think there is a good chance we let Obed walk, which I think is super dumb. I think if we see Obed in a Sounder shirt come next season, he is leaving on a free. But this is it. This has to be the do or die. We have to sell him this offseason. So I'm curious what they have to say on that.
And how high the objective list is it for you to prevent that from happening?
Oh, he's a great young player. That's undeniable. And so there's a lot of interest in him. There's a lot of interest in keeping him. We've been in ongoing conversations with him. I mean, a lot of times the players make decisions. They get to make decisions for their own career as well, right? So we have a great contract with him. We've always had a great relationship with Obed, and right now that's where we are. If that changes, you guys will probably know before I do.
Are you concerned that he might? How bad would it be for the club if he used to walk out just as free transfer?
I mean, you'd have to ask if it happens, but I don't view things the same way you do.
So you're not concerned?
I'm not concerned. He's a very good.
Whoa. What do you mean you're not concerned if he leaves on a free? Bro, Craig, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Brother. Craig. Come here, Craig. Let's talk about this, bro. You would be the ultimate fumbler of the century if you let Obed walk on a free. By the sounds of this, I don't know if again, I'm just a brown guy on the internet just talking about some Sounders ball, but I'm not like a waffler like this. You're saying you're okay with letting Obed walk to give your guys' self a good chance next year for free when we could probably make around 6 to maybe, if we get a good enough offer, 10 mil for him. But you're willing to play that risk because as I've talked about, it looks like he could be leaving on a free. There's a lot of reports are suggesting that it's going to be the case because if he wanted to sign his contract, he would have signed his contract. Man, Craig, man, the L list keeps on going. I want things to go well for you, Craigie, but dude, we still have 30 more minutes. I don't think I'm going to be doing this whole thing.
Very good Sounders player.
Jeremiah.
I guess this is for Craig. How would you assess the amount of flexibility that you have going into this offseason in general, but also in versus the previous offseason?
Well, you saw this morning probably the amount of players.
Wait, look, guys. I know I'm going to answer this. We don't got much flexibility. I'm going to tie everyone up to another new 5-year contract. And then, we don't got much flexibility here. But the reality is unless we keep letting go more players, there isn't going to be much flexibility or if we move the DPs. But DPs ain't changing. So there is no flexibility. It's sad, but we might make I think 2 to 3 signings. Medium to low end signings. That's how I see it.
Players we have coming back and the players that aren't or the options we didn't pick up, they're not going to create a ton of salary cap flexibility because the stability of our roster was built a year ago and then developed remarkably well by the staff this year. And so in a year where we would typically have 8 or 9, 7, 8, 9 roster spots turning over, we just don't. We only have a couple players that weren't called on this year that didn't step up to the task and perform. And so we're bringing a ton of them back.
A couple? That's crazy. Just a couple players? I don't know, man. I think there's a lot more. I think Jordan's one. That's like a big one right there. Nuhu, maybe. It's two. I don't know. You guys name me a couple more. Um, you guys are getting rid of possibly John Bell. It looks like you're letting Obed walk on a free. There's a lot of players like that you could make some chopping and changings that underperformed in my opinion, because I do think there's a lot of players that did underperform. I don't think it's that cut and dry.
Of them back. And when you do that, along with natural raises built into contracts and all of that, you have to account for that in terms of financials. So flexibility will be created if we move players, but otherwise there's not a ton of flexibility. Just, I mean, obviously with the release this morning, you can write that all down on paper. It's a lot of the roster coming back, which is a lot of the salary cap.
Okay, over to George next.
Hi. So this question is for Coach Spencer. Coach, you have mentioned before that you are a hate to lose kind of guy. There was a quote from Marcel Bielsa, the Uruguay coach, where he says, "I'm a great generator of tension. When I arrive, the atmosphere becomes tense. That's why I fear little," which he attributes to being a person that fears losing more than enjoying winning. It seems that you are a much more joyous person to be around. So I wanted to know
A little bit of glazing there, but we'll allow it.
how you do that, and also how you evolved as a coach, because this is your third decade as being a head coach, and how you handle different generations of players, especially when you seem to be a very sensitive person and you're in a role where you have to make hard decisions and have difficult conversations.
Okay. I think this is gonna be the first part we skip. Seems like we have a lot of like baloney up to about 22 where we get asked about Pedro. I'd actually care about that.
Some are self-motivated. They're pro soccer players. I mean, let's be honest. They want to win. They don't show up to take seconds. So
Okay.
you're in terms of games every 3 or 4 days when we're playing them.
Okay, Ethan.
Craig, right here.
Yeah.
2 years since signing Pedro de la Vega, big moment for the club, a lot of dollars and resources allocated. I'm curious, what was your evaluation of him as a player 2 years in? And Brian, I'm curious, what have you learned about him as a player since coming in 2 years ago?
You want that one first or me?
You can go.
Mine won't be as insightful as Brian's, because Brian and the staff work with him every day. What I know is we signed the right guy, right character, right talent. I've rarely seen a player, everybody talks about unfortunate and this and that. I've rarely seen a player sustain, I've never seen a player sustain the injury he had this year. I've been around the game a long time. Personally, never.
Yeah, his injury was pretty freakish, but man's a walking cripple. He's a walking injury, which I hate to see.
Seen it. But in terms of fitting in terms of character, in terms of quality, he's all of those things and more when he's healthy and ready.
I'm writing notes because look, you're talking about Pedro as a player. It's incomplete because of the injuries that he's had. He was going like this. The Pushkash, the goal of the year. You saw his individual talent, his technical ability in tight spaces, the joy that he has when he's playing. You see all of that. It's infectious. But him as a human being. And we talk a lot about that, when it comes to signing players, you can do it different. Obviously, everybody has different ways, but we feel strongly that getting good people into the building and then developing them as soccer players or individuals is a pretty good way of doing business. And Pedro fits that character. I mean, from
Not because anything Brian's saying is wrong. I don't know why. It just sounds more of like a daycare-ish, like rec soccer type thing to say. Well, I care about if he's a good person. Again, there's nothing in theory wrong. I just think it's funny. That's all. Like, I would care more they're a dog. They're a really good player. These guys, I care if this guy is sunshine and rainbows. Again, we'll
the minute he came in this building, very respectful, always shook your hands, look you in the eye, would always have nice things to say. He's had to overcome a lot, and he still has a positive outlook in the weight room, in the training room, was encouraging his teammates throughout the playoff run. Even when he and Paul were competing for the same spot, they still would talk at training. They would talk, well, if I go in, I'm going to do this, and you're going to do that. And, a lot of times you don't get that. So he's a tremendous soccer player and an even better human being.
I think a lot of teams don't operate the way we do, the way Brian and I operate as character than quality.
Yes, a lot of clubs, they make signings during the summer transfer window. So you are right there, Craig. Good on you, buddy.
And that's what we got. We got both.
All right, we'll come back down here, Jackson, and over to Tim. Yeah, quick one for Brian, longer one for Craig. The quick one is on Pedro. Still looking at the same timeline, middle of next year. Any update on Pedro?
I would be remiss if I gave you an exact date. It will be, maybe mid next year is a little long. I'm hoping that it's a little shorter than that, Jackson, but let's just see.
Hey, Craig, going back to the kind of the contract situations and stuff, when you're negotiating, say specifically with younger players, how much does maybe interest in wanting to test themselves, even if it's a bigger league or overseas somewhere else, how much does that influence those conversations, whether it's numbers or specific wording of them saying, I want to test myself? How much do you see that in just in general negotiations with younger players?
Yeah, it's definitely.
We haven't offloaded any players to Europe, though. So I don't know if this is really, again, another relevant question. My cheat sheet. Looks like they talk about U22s kind of at the 34 mark. I think that will be good. Here you go.
Okay, we'll do Jeremiah next.
There you go.
Craig, this last summer, I guess, there was a lot of talk about bringing in a U22. I'm just curious where that stands and like where that pursuit goes and how you would assess the budget.
Yes. Yes. Good question. This is what I want to hear. Get us that U22, man. It's, as much as you like to talk about no roster flexibility, that is a roster slot that we have had open, and it has been open, and we need it filled. We want it filled as fans. Whoops, I think I accidentally muted the, because that's how like how much this question means to me. I got too excited.
The budget for making a move like that.
Yeah, thankfully we didn't, because Osaze proved to be more than what we would have gotten had we spent millions of dollars on anyone else. So a lot of times the best deals you do are the ones you don't, and this is further proof to that. So we'll continue to evaluate. And
whoa, not to discredit Osaze, he was great and all, but like, no way, that's your response to that question. That is not what I was expecting, Craig. The worst part is you just praised Osaze, but you pushed Homeboy to the wayside post Leagues Cup. Post Leagues Cup, Osaze got the wrong end of the stick. He got shafted. So to be like, oh, well, we got Osaze. Okay. You could still add a U22. What's the problem with that? Man, something about the answer just rubs you the wrong way.
If we bring in a U22, the rule set won't change. It'll be someone we think can actually contribute. And while we had our eyes set on someone we felt could contribute, who, by the way, has had plenty of success already in the start of his season overseas, Osaze did the job for us. And so we'll.
Who are you trying to hint at there? It's probably not Noah Ohio, because he was the one that was reported about the most. Because I think he doesn't even play for Utrecht's first team anymore. So this has to be I don't know, maybe he's waffling. But see, I don't mind the whole like, hey, like we want to get someone that can contribute. I completely agree. But I feel like there's so many players that have come and gone, or that you can go for that can contribute. There's a gaping hole in the striker position. There's a gaping hole for attackers, clutchness in this team. Even a really high level, stable defender, be it in the outside backs, a center back. I don't know. Okay, let's use like Inter Miami. I think it's Savetti. I think is how you pronounce his name. Plays for Argentina's U20 team, one of their youth teams. He's made such a big difference for them post Leagues Cup. He wasn't available when we played him in the Leagues Cup final. There are a lot of good younger players that will help raise our floor, that will add something. Like I agree, but it's just like, I feel like you guys are just using that as like an excuse to be like, we didn't find that. And like, shucks, this, that. We talked about this a lot in the video I did with Will MLS Moves. Man, dude, Craig, man. There's one like takeaway from this video, and I don't know if you guys will agree with me. Craig Weibel he should be called Craig Waffler, because that's what he does so much. Just waffle. Put his face on like a waffle. That's Craig Weibel.
We'll keep playing around with it. But again, with all the players coming back, we're not going to bring a U22 in that isn't planned on getting minutes, that isn't a planned player that's going to contribute, and that isn't someone that we expect the coaches to use. We don't need to bring another player in that needs to develop for 2 more years with our current roster. If we make some changes.
What do you mean we don't need to bring another? I'm not saying I agree with you, but it's just like there's if we brought in like a good solid U22 in a position of need, cough, striker, an attacking player, doesn't matter. They would contribute. But okay.
Changes with some of our young players. If some of those guys transfer out for whatever reason, I think then the conversation becomes probably we can then look to invest into more of a project player. But right now we still have to focus on players that can play more, especially with the load of games we're going to have next year.
Jess.
See, it's so contradicting. Oh, we're gonna have so many games, and we need someone that can contribute. So you're telling me there's some players that don't contribute then, because you're saying you need someone that can contribute, and you have a lot of games coming up, so it might not be a bad idea to make a signing. Yeah, Craig. Good old Craig. It looks like
This question is for Brian. I just was curious if you could elaborate a little more on JP's career here at the club, his significance on and off the pitch.
I think off the pitch, I said it pretty
okay.
clear.
I don't need to hear more about JP. Just more filler questions. I think right here we get asked about Ryan Kent.
Thank you.
All right, over to Nico next, and then George, I know you're waiting.
Craig, Ryan King coming here for like last year was a great find by you and the scouting staff. What were those conversations like about him potentially coming back? And is that door completely closed? And for both of you guys, how does the calendar changes anything about what you guys do, you guys' job per se?
Well, we had a conversation with Ryan. There's just not going to be a role for him here next year. So that door's closed. In terms of
Man, oh, that was a freaking blunt answer. Just like, nope. I don't know, man. You know what that kind of tells me is like there was obviously some type of friction there. Because you don't see Craig give a direct answer like that. Craig, as I said, he's a waffler. That one wasn't Craig. See, those are the kind of answers I like from Craig. I will say, as much as it's not an answer I want to hear, I like that he's like, yeah, no, the door's not open anymore. It's sad because I don't think Ryan Kent got a proper chance with the team. From everything I've heard, he was a very quiet guy and just kind of to himself, which I don't have a problem with. He wasn't like a disrespectful guy, but I don't know. The sense I get is it looks like maybe they didn't see eye to eye or there's some friction there. Dang. And he also asked about the schedule change. That was the next question, but like that doesn't happen for another 2 years. So I don't think it's
in terms of the calendar change, that doesn't happen for another year. So
that's why I said the same thing. Yeah, so I don't know why that was asked either. That was a bit bizarre and not very relevant question.
I think we'll have I'll have a better answer for you 12 months from now. But right now we're playing the exact same calendar as we did this year, minus our summer not being as consistent in terms of games. But the playoff structure, I think everything stays the same for next year. So, we've got to check in January 10th and get the job going.
Nothing to add there, Nico.
All right, I think pretty much we conclude at 42, and we'll wrap up the video there. I think it's 42 on the dot. That's the last good question.
There's going to be a fair amount of opportunity, it would seem, for some of the younger guys on this roster. And I was just wondering if you could speak to some of the younger players who you expect to step up and have to carry bigger loads than they've had in the past.
Sure.
Okay, wait. Let's throw me in this one. I'm sitting on that mic in the middle. That's me. So this is pretend this mic is that mic. I want to see some Danny Leyva action. I want to see some Schneider Brunel. I want to see some Georgie Manungu action. That's the three guys I want minutes for. Danny, Schneidi, Georgie, throw them in there. Bam. That's your answer, Jeremiah.
I'll take some of that and then you can have the final word. Look, younger players, first thing that jumped in my head is, they need to be robust because maybe to answer your question a little bit, the first part of the year is going to be compact. You got a big break and then another compact, and then you got a 14-game stretch to get to the summer calendar. So we're going to need a roster that's built with, robustness and young, and that's not a bad thing.
I don't know why you keep saying robust. I keep thinking tomatoes. Because of like tomato sauce or whatever. Okay. Maybe that's just me being weird right there. That wasn't the answer I was expecting from Brian.
Although, Steph Fry is taking very good care of his body and he's lasted for many, many years. But you're going to talk about, Obed because he's still under contract. Danny Leyva had a standout year this year, made really some big improvements.
Hey, I said that first too. Interesting. He said Obed's still under contract. The more and more I keep thinking about this, the more and more I'm that report from CL Merlot or however I forgot. It's like Cesar something, very big South American / MLS reporter. I think he's leaving on a free. And also, I don't know if it's just me, but there seems to be like this weird dynamic between good old Craigie Waffler and Brian. Like you could tell there's like awkwardness. I don't know. But again, it could just be me. I don't know.
movements. Reed Baker Whiting will continue to push Nuhu and also push on the other side. Kalani came in and was lightning in a bottle. Someone that came in and just did a great job. Is Andrew Thomas a young player? Is Jackson a young player? Some of those guys in their mid-20s. Is that a young guy?
No.
Like Snyder, obviously, got a lot of, talk in his cameos this year, scoring goals. He's got a little bit more to his game, going forward. He arrives in the box very well. Kind of reminds me of Albert sometimes, because Albert's very goal dangerous. We're going to need to rely on all of those players, including some of the old guys, to really, and also, if I think about it, Jeremiah, your question, it's going to fall on the coaching staff to make sure that the rotations are good, to make sure that we have the right mix of experienced guys and younger guys and help bring them along, but also, do what's most important. And that's win games. Because, I can't play young players just to play young players, and I can't have favorites just because I'm favored or I like guys. We got to win.
It's interesting because that's something we talk a lot about Brian for. I think it pretty much concludes out from there. I mean, there wasn't that much spoken about in here that like is anything like, are we really surprised though? Like, yeah, I mean, all in all, I don't think there's going to be much change in the team. Doesn't look like DPs are going to be moving. Doesn't seem like there's going to be massive roster change. They're already telling us that. Little disappointing. Nothing too revealing. My biggest takeaway, it seems to be some weird, interesting dynamic between Brian and Kreger's over there. A lot of waffle, but what's new? A little bit. I'm a little frustrated. I won't lie. But I'm not surprised. I'm like a disappointed mom right now. I'm disappointed. I'm just disappointed. And I don't know how much longer I could take listening to this hubba bubba baloney sometimes. But again, that's just my take on everything. Boys and girls, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Like, subscribe. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this reaction video. Maybe we could do more of these throughout the season, the off season, whatever it may be. I know this is a long video. It wasn't edited like pretty much at all. So just a raw reaction to the end of season press conference on 1.5 speed. I skipped through some of it because, again, I feel like it would drag it on way too much. Like, I don't want us to be here for over an hour, but that's just my opinion. Let me know your guys' thoughts. And boys and girls, I hope you'll have a lovely day.